An internationally recognised furniture designer and curator, known for her refined and timeless aesthetic, Rachel Donath has also carved a name for herself in her ability to blend art, history, and modern living. Based in Melbourne, Rachel has built her brand through her distinctive approach to design, one that celebrates craftsmanship, storytelling, and the emotional connection we form with the objects that surround us. With a background in marketing and PR and an eye for sculptural form, Rachel's work feels both nostalgic and contemporary, bridging the gap between collectible design and everyday function. Her pieces have been featured in leading design publications and sought after by stylists, collectors, and interior designers around the world. Today we touch on Rachel's creative process, her journey from collector to creator, and how she continues to shape the design landscape through her thoughtful and intuitive approach. Rachel, welcome to Her Design, Her Story. I'm really thrilled to be interviewing you today. Thank you so much for joining me.
No, likewise. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great to catch up with you. I've been lucky enough to specify some of your gorgeous pieces over the year, both some of your original vintage finds and more recently your beautiful design pieces for your brand. It's evolved incredibly over the last few years, and I think from a designer specifier point of view, it's been really exciting to see a local designer who's sort of with such great intent built up this incredible business. But before we delve into all things Rachel Donath, I did want to touch on your first career path, because I know you started in a slightly different career pathway to design. Can you talk a little bit about what your journey looked like when you finished school?
Well, when I finished school, I actually was told by my school careers counsellor that I should be an occupational therapist, which was very specific and extremely not suited to me. So I did start at La Trobe University here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I don't think I lasted more than a week. I right away was just so bored by it and quickly pivoted into a communications degree.
Yeah.
So I moved across to communications and studied marketing and then began working pretty quickly with News Corp and had a career in marketing for about 15 years.
Oh,
so my background is very much corporate marketing. I even had my own marketing agency for maybe 7 years. After my second child was born, I started my own business doing marketing consulting for other businesses. And for me, if I can say, I was good at it, but I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I was able to do it quite well. I was able to get good results for my clients, but it didn't fill my soul. It just paid the bills, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it was actually during COVID in 2020 that we were in lockdown, and a lot of my work was very uncertain because a lot of the businesses were being impacted by all the COVID changes. And it was a Sunday morning, and I just kind of really had a moment of, I'm coming up to 40, and you live once and life is short, and I want to do what I love. And I know that I've always been a very creative person. I've always done sort of lots of craft projects at home and upcycled pieces, and I've always collected and loved sort of, curating and collecting vintage and antique furniture, and it's where my heart has always been. And I thought, I'm just going to start. I was already bringing in pieces for myself, and so I just sort of started using those same sources to source additional pieces and put them up on an Instagram page, which had maybe, 100 followers at the time. And within a week, I was sourcing for some of the biggest designers in Australia.
That's
some
amazing.
of the most iconic design houses who somehow found me when I had like less than 500 by then followers. It was very, very small, but they somehow found me right away, and they were DMing me and asking me to source. I'd put out catalogues every week of the pieces that I'd found, and they would just ask for early access and buy out the entire catalogues. So it was just sold out week after week. And for me, it was just very affirming that I had an eye for design and that I had a talent in this area, because I had no official training in design. I had no contacts or connection to the industry.
No, I was going to say, did you always, even through your career in that sort of more marketing corporate space, was it sort of just a side thing of finding furniture for yourself that was feeding that creative
100%.
drive?
Like I was doing marketing for allied health practices, for physiotherapists and podiatrists, and literally anyone that would hire me to do their marketing. I was not picky. I took anything. So I had a lot of experience in terms of business, and I think that definitely has been a big part of what's helped me build my business today. From the commercial side of it is understanding how businesses run and where their bottlenecks are. And I learnt a lot, and I lean on that marketing knowledge every single day in running the business. But from a creative standpoint, it was very much a side hustle for me. Not even hustle, I wasn't making money from it, but just a side hobby for me was collecting pieces, was, I'd paint. I do a lot of painting. I'd buy sort of old pieces off Gumtree and I would fix them up and I'd make them really beautiful.
That's
my
amazing.
house was very much collected. I'd go to markets. I'd go to I love going to I still do love going to flea markets and sourcing online from like antique auction sites. And it was just even to this day, I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch shows. I spend my nights trawling through auction sites and looking at antiques. That's my happy place.
With those initial pieces that you were sourcing, were they coming from just locally overseas? Was it everywhere?
Mostly overseas.
Yeah.
I had, prior to COVID, travelled through Europe and done a bit of travelling, and so I had made some good contacts with some vendors who I was on email and WhatsApp with, and would just ask them to send me photos of what they've got. Literally just they took photos of their shop or of their stall or whatever it was, and I would just sort of buy through their photos. So there was a bit of overseas sourcing, and there was also some local, definitely. I think that I was quite resourceful in terms of where I would find things, and nowhere was out of bounds in terms of where I would search for beautiful pieces.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So obviously I remember coming from a designer point of view when, and I think particularly during COVID as well, I felt like from a design perspective, a lot of clients were wanting to spend time on their houses almost as a bit of a pleasant distraction. And I think I probably had a bit more time to really deep dive into Instagram and spend a bit more time, because it does take time to find the right contacts or, new and interesting furniture pieces. So I remember coming across your offerings on Instagram, and it was a wonderfully unique offering and obviously an eye for the pieces that you were selecting. What were your next steps in going from that sort of vintage find to actually developing some of your own product?
So it was a couple of steps. It's definitely been an evolution in terms of the brand. So it started off sourcing vintage, then it turned into sourcing other people's designs. So I work with a US manufacturer and bought in like our Cord lounge chair, which some people might remember, we don't sell it anymore. But that was a chair that's made by a US supplier. I was actually getting in a pair for myself, and I thought, hang on, I could actually, if I can get 2, I can get 10. And so I put them on the Instagram feed and said, look, I can source another pair of these if anyone wants. I think I sold like 50 something within a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I filled a container. So it was pretty wild. And once I was able to start, and it was all on pre-sale, it was amazing how people were trusting, because I was just, there was no website. It was just me behind an Instagram, and people were spending, a lot of money on those chairs. I was very careful in terms of I put that money somewhere and I didn't touch it until everyone had received their chairs, which was a few months later. So I was very careful in terms of reputationally. I wanted to make sure that I did the right thing by people.
Yeah.
But from there, the idea came to me that I also have ideas in terms of design that I would love to develop. Most of it actually at the beginning were pieces that I wanted for my own home that I couldn't find anywhere. So a certain kind of dining chair, like the Grace dining chair, was something that I wanted for myself. And I reached out, I found a supplier, a manufacturer who we still use to this day, and I didn't know how to draw a chair. I could do a rough sketch, but I didn't understand the science behind the engineering of a chair and like the it has to have a certain, like, I think it's called, I don't even know the technical words till today, because I've got people in my team who do the technical stuff. I'm sort of more the creative visionary. But in terms of like from a comfort perspective, you've got to consider a lot of different things. And so the first prototype was very different to what it is today. It looked very similar, but from a comfort level, from a durability level, it's evolved a lot. Now now the product is an incredible quality and extremely comfortable. But that piece I designed myself. I designed it for my own home, and we never can keep stock of them. It's 5 years later, and they sell out all the time. So
that's amazing.
That was sort of the beginning of me sort of getting into my own design.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. Do you work with, from a supply and manufacturer point of view, are you continually sourcing new people to work with, or is that something that you've got one supplier that manufactures your pieces? How does that
We started
sort of
off
side
with
work?
one,
Yeah.
and then, it was all a massive learning curve for me. So I didn't realise this. It's probably maybe common sense to others, but suppliers have specialties,
Yeah.
and especially artisans manufacturers who are quite sort of specific and artful and very good at their craft. And so the initial supplier that I was working with was very good at timber. We wanted to move into upholstery, and they made some upholstery samples for us, and I just wasn't happy with the fabric selections, the quality, the feel, the fit. So I just spoke to a lot of people and did a lot of Googling and
Yeah.
searching, and was able to find other suppliers who were really good at their craft. So we now have still quite a small group of suppliers. There's maybe 6 suppliers that we work with for our sort of core ranges, and they vary in terms of their craft and their specialty in terms of materiality, and that I think is really important because we've got an excellent relationship with all of those suppliers, and they often are a big part of developing the design.
Yeah.
So I'll submit a design and they'll say, hang on, I think it needs this or that for it to be more comfortable, or for it to be more durable, or for it to be this or that. So it's a real collaborative design process where we really lean into their expertise and knowledge around materials and how they work and how they wear. And so it's quite a collaborative process till today, but it's really, I love that.
Which I think I find that even still in some of the smaller things I'm doing, it's always a continual learning process. And I think there is so much trust. I remember having a client recently, we were looking at some furniture, and often you see all these beautiful things, but you can't actually sit in them. So there's always that element of trust of it's going to be comfortable.
Yes.
It's got, so many technicalities.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we touch on, I know you've got lots of exciting things in the pipeline with your business. Can you describe a little bit about the structure of what Rachel Donath looks like at the minute?
Yeah, so for the first maybe 3 years, it was just me.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people are really surprised to hear. It's
a lot of hats.
Now that I think of it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. But I literally did everything from every single email that came through. I answered it within an hour.
Yeah.
I don't let customers sit around. And even our team now are amazing, and we very much are, customer first, and it's our one and only focus. There's other focuses, but a very, very key focus for us is our customer and our customer's experience with the brand. But at the very beginning, I was doing everything. I was doing this design, I was doing the buying, I was doing the logistics and the freight organisation, I was doing the shipping and packing, I was doing the customer service, I was doing everything.
Yeah.
And I think that in a way I learned so much, and it's helped me understand how to grow the team. Then we moved into sort of having a few sort of key hires who were very much generalists, and were able to sort of help across the business, which I think that a lot of startups and new companies need. They need people who are not necessarily just inside one sort of area of knowledge, but can really sort of be wherever they need to be to help. And I, had a fantastic team of 3 of us, so it was a small team still. And then only very recently, we've really kind of grown that organisational structure into specialists. So we've got, a head of marketing and brand, we've got a head of logistics and operations, we've got a, design and development lead, we've got a marketing team, we've got salespeople, we've got a customer service team, we've got an operations sort of fulfilment team. So the team is very much now much more specialised in their areas of expertise.
And I guess as you scale up that, even I just think about the shipping and logistics. Trying to get one piece of furniture.
It's a minefield.
Can be a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a whole other ball game. Coming back to the sense of I guess the incredible role that you've carved out for yourself in your business. What do you think are some key attributes which have enabled you sort of on a personal level to be able to throw yourself into this and grow?
Yeah, I love this question. I think that to be successful in business, you have to be very, very resilient.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have a will like no other to succeed and to get through hard things.
Yeah.
And at the beginning there were hard things, and now there are hard things. They're different hard things, but you definitely face moments and days and weeks and months and situations constantly that it's very easy to just say, this is too hard.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to sort of sit back and let, you know, let things fall where they fall. But for me, I'm a real fighter.
Yeah.
I'm a very resilient person. And I think that's something that is natural, that I've kind of been born with and that I've learnt through my life, is just that resilience. And I think that's sort of where I have been able to continue to rise above and push through and pivot, continuously pivot and find ways. I'm very much, for me, it's about finding solutions. It's, you know, never, like, give up is not in my vocabulary. It's very much about, you know, you find a way. There's always a solution. Every problem has a solution. And I've got like a huge just will to succeed, however that looks to me, which is different for everyone. But for me, you know, to be successful in a way that feels successful to me, and also to get through hard things and to sort of find my way up to above water again.
I love that. I think that's a really honest answer as well. And I think often we see that sort of polished result of like the beautiful furniture or the stylized home and the polished website, and the amount of work and stress. And I felt a bit like that with a few things lately. I was saying to a girlfriend last night, it can be this real roller coaster of a successful moment, but then in parallel with that, you're also dealing with something that's really weighing on you 100%. At the same time.
I have a million examples.
And I think that's a wonderful credit to you, you know, and really honest that you have to have that drive to really just push through.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, there's no other way. And I know my son is 15 and he's doing his week of work experience this week. And he really wants to sort of go into business one day. He really wants to be an entrepreneur. And the one thing I say to him is, you know, it's not about, I mean, results in school matter, but what matters the most in terms of like character traits of a person that's going to be successful is the ability to problem solve.
Yeah.
And to just keep pushing and back yourself and to believe in yourself and back yourself and just to push through hard things, because one thing that's guaranteed in life is that you'll get thrown some curveballs.
Yeah, and it's that sort of mental resilience which can be quite exhausting.
Yeah.
And sort of then finding the energy to come home and be a fun friend and a great parent and, you know, do all those things in parallel as well.
Yes.
But no, it's been amazing watching your business evolve, and you've recently had some beautiful pop-up stores in Melbourne and Sydney. You're also now selling through stockists in America, Norway, Asia, UK, France. It's really incredible. What are the, I'm sure you have some interesting next steps for your brand in the next year. What's sort of on the plans at the moment?
So next year is going to be a really big year for the brand. Yeah. We're opening our first flagship store here in Melbourne.
Oh, amazing.
Which is...
I'm very excited.
It's actually a really exciting concept that we're doing. Yeah. It's a real sort of immersive brand experience. It's not beautiful. Just a big, you know, box store like, you know, like a lot of other furniture retailers or, you know, people do. It's a very much an experience that feels very... personal and very brand aligned. For me, the brand and the mission and what I'm here to do in terms of what the brand ethos is and mission is, it's key in every decision I make, and that definitely includes in how we do retail. So we are opening a flagship store in Melbourne and also Sydney's on the cards as well. And then we're also doing some exciting residencies overseas next year as well in New York.
Oh,
so there's some really, really exciting in-person experiential pieces for the Rachel Donath brand moving into 2026. And it's so exciting to see the brand evolve into that. And also it wouldn't be possible without the support of my team. Like I couldn't do that myself. You know, you really need the team around you and that sort of level of experience and people and dedication from others in your team to be able to make things like this happen. Like, and I'm very sort of aware and grateful to my team who just have my back and who have the brand's back and who just kind of want to see it move in the right direction. So this is really, it's very much a team effort and it's a real kind of achievement for all of us behind the brand.
Oh, that's amazing. How have you found that with the US market? They've obviously... it's been quite palatable for your aesthetic.
Yeah.
Has that been quite a challenging market?
Well, right from the very beginning, even when it was just me, we got a lot of inquiries from the US, and I like to say yes when the opportunity is a good one, even if it's tricky to fulfill on that yes. And so we got orders from the US early on, and I literally picked up the phone to DHL and FedEx and any other carrier that I could and said, how do I get this piece to this person? And just found a way, which is very much how the brand at the core of our DNA is find a way. And so we did. I found a way to ship to the US. And so we've been shipping and supplying the US for 5 years now. And it makes up about just over 40% of our business is our US market. Amazing. So it's a big percentage of our business is in the US. The US customer and our clients in the US are, they're designers, they're very, well-respected design firms and architects and stylists and individuals with beautiful taste. But I think there's a great product market fit in the US. They appreciate the aesthetic, the design. It's unique to the US market as well, so they can't find it anywhere else. And I think they also love the Australian story behind it.
Well, yeah, because I feel like there's quite a lot of cross with America of things coming this way and designers represented over there, and probably that point of difference as well. Yeah,
exactly. So the US has always been a strong market for us, and now we really want to give back and go there and say, here we are. You can now touch and feel our pieces and sort of make it, make a bigger mark, in North America, because we've got so many clients there already that are just waiting for us to be there. So it's sort of it's the right next thing to do.
Oh, that's incredible. That sounds like a very big and exciting few months. And certainly from as a designer, I think it's wonderful to be able to take clients out and really sell that, that journey. And I think I think there has been quite a focus here as well with really celebrating local talent, and I love specifying, local furniture and things like that. So I think that'll be very exciting on a selfish note with clients. Continuing with this idea of development, obviously finding inspiration and keeping ourselves motivated as creatives is a really big part of what we do. Are there any particular designers or sources of inspiration that you go to when you're designing new collections?
Yeah, inspiration is a funny thing when you're sort of in business and you need to, it's very difficult to be creative to a timeline or to be creative because it's 2:00 and you have a meeting on creativity. And that's been a big learning curve for me, is how to do that. And I think what I've found for myself in terms of how to switch on creativity is to have time by myself, even just to be home on my own. I find that just kind of having sort of peaceful moments is when the creativity sort of starts flooding back in, and also to really act on that when I feel that creative buzz, even if it's a Sunday afternoon and it's not the right time to be pulling out my notebook and start sketching, I'll just do it. So I've just kind of learnt to sort of lean into when that creativity comes to me and to act on it and to do something with it, because you definitely can't schedule creativity. In terms of where creativity comes from, for me, it comes from architecture. It comes sometimes in very, places that you normally wouldn't expect to find it, like, a pattern in a sidewalk, in pavement, or in pictures from old magazines. I particularly love architecture, sculpture, art, gardens, and I find there's a lot of inspiration for me just in, within the shapes, like, a corbel or a shape on a cornice can turn into, the leg of a table or a frame of a mirror, or, that's very much how my mind works.
I was thinking about like your dovetail, for example. I was just saying to you before, I've been lucky enough to specify some of those beautiful pieces, and I was thinking quite architectural junctions actually, which I think is what had appealed. That's really interesting.
And also looking at like how pieces are made and what the natural junctions are of when timber pieces are made, and celebrating those, or sort of pulling back pieces to their sort of rawest form and finding the beauty in some of those kind of the way pieces are made. And a lot of that has been a real learning process for me, going and visiting these manufacturers and watching how they make pieces and saying, hang on, just stop there. Like that piece is perfect as it is before it's polished, before the piece, So sometimes and that's where that piece kind of came from, is sort of looking at how pieces are made and then saying stop to the production process and saying, let's just leave it as it is. It's actually really beautiful in this natural form. So I think that when you've got that that eye and you're looking for inspiration, it's everywhere. And I think that also if you're in the right sort of mindset and headspace to allow that creativity to really sort of like blossom, those are the moments that you've got to really lean into and pull out
Yeah.
your notepad and just make notes, write things down. And I don't think I used to worry that creativity will run out, that it was
Yeah.
like a limited resource. And I was like, once I finish this collection, what am I going to do next? Like, this is all I've got.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
It's boundless, it seems, because I've got plenty more ideas now for next
know,
year.
I
So
was
you just got to give yourself a minute to sort of catch your breath and have
Yeah.
some time out, and then it floods back in. So I think it's about just trusting your natural sort of ability to be creative and not
Yeah.
rushing it and not pushing it, and it does come back.
Yeah. No, I think it's that headspace thing as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? Just having a moment without all the noise of
100%.
of what's happening. Touching on your collections, do you have a bit of a rhythm as to how you like set times that you're delivering collections? How does that sort of work for you?
Yeah, so it has in the past been very much, if I'm honest, it's been around, it takes about a year from idea to having a piece ready to put on the website and sell.
Yeah.
So historically, and as we're becoming a little bit more sort of efficient in our ways, we're becoming a bit more organised with it. But it has historically been when the pieces are ready, that's when we launch it.
Yeah.
And so there hasn't really been necessarily a rhythm or a system. It's been quite reactive in terms of this piece is ready now, we're going to launch it now, or waiting for a group to be ready and then taking that to market. But moving forward, I think that as a brand, my brand is very much about very considered, curated, intentional design. It's not about mass production. It's not about seasonal. It's not about trends. It's not about filling gaps in the market. It's very much about heart-led design and pieces that resonate and pieces that are very much aesthetically and structurally made to be loved forever.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's less, it's
timeless,
quality over
yeah.
quantity.
Yeah.
It's about doing, releasing sort of small edits that are meaningful and beautiful and timeless, and that I'm really personally very proud of.
Yeah.
And there's no deadlines or timelines around that. And I feel like that's important, because I think as soon as I would say to myself, you need a February launch, you need an April launch, then you start having to go down that really commercial sort of mindset of I've got to pump out design. And I worry that businesses and if I were to do that, it's the beginning of the end, because I think that's where you lose your heart.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was speaking to someone recently from more a homewares stance, and they were saying if you release in that small considered way, everything has a moment to shine.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a big collection, I can understand some bigger brands and they might have the ability for some pieces not to quite naked or test the market, but it gives everything a real strength.
Yeah, and a
purpose.
chance to
Very considered.
to sort of just kind of stand on the stage and be seen, which is it's important, because every piece is very much a labour of love, and a piece that I've really sort of worked hard at, and there was a lot of intention behind it. So I do want to give each of those pieces time to shine.
Yeah.
But also I think it's important to differentiate between brands like mine, where it's about design over the commercials. It's about it's about the pieces and the design piece over making certain kind of targets of X amount of product a year or whatever it is. It's much more personal.
Yeah, which I think as someone outside looking in, you certainly feel that in a really beautiful way, and I think it's a really strong point of difference as well, which is really exciting. In line with your amazing business, you have a very busy and involved life at home. You have 4 children, which I've got 3, and I thought that was plenty.
Yeah.
It's very busy. What does the structure of life alongside work look like for you? Is it quite a sort of a blurred boundary?
It's an evolution.
Yeah.
I have a very helpful and hands-on husband, which makes a humongous difference.
Yeah.
And so he really picks up where I drop off. So if I can't do something, he'll step in and help out. And I don't know if I could do it without him, in terms of or someone in that place to really sort of like just pick up that slack, because I can't do everything. And my kids know that their mum is chasing her dreams and doing what she loves, and they've seen from the very beginning the story of how it started and what it was and what it's become, and they've seen the struggles, and they've seen me in tears, and they've seen me jump for joy, and they've seen the whole process, and they've also seen the sacrifice they've had to make, in terms of, if you call it a sacrifice, of being in before care and being in after care and having long days at school, and spending school holiday at holiday programs sometimes, and and I think that they're not resentful about it, as far as I
Yeah.
know. Maybe it'll come up in therapy
No.
when they're older. But I mean, I'm very sort of open, and I hope that the time that I spend with them is quality time.
Yeah.
You know, we chat a lot and we spend a lot of time together, you know, in the evenings and the weekends. But at the moment, there's a lot of travel for me. You know, and I love working, and I love doing what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm in my element. I don't want to stop. And having 4 little kids, you've got to make sacrifices somewhere. I'm not a stay-at-home mum. I'm not a trad wife, you know. Dinner is often, you know, bolognese from the deli mixed with fresh pasta. You know, it's often it's not gourmet. And I think my kids are pretty well adjusted. I think so. I mean, I'm probably biased, but I feel like they're seeing real life, and they're seeing mum and dad who are both hardworking. They're seeing a good work ethic. They've got good role models, I hope, and I hope that will pay off, you know. So it's give and take. You know, they've had to have long days in childcare, but they've also got a really good role model of what it is to work hard, to follow your dreams, and those are all things that I hope they'll kind of learn.
It's that passion as well, because I feel like there would be plenty of kids doing all that whose parents it's not out of, there's not the joy that comes with it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And I always think, even I was having this conversation with my husband recently, we were talking about work, and he's like, oh, you're so lucky you found something that you are truly so passionate about. I love being in design, you know, and I think so many people can't say that.
I know,
and I think
it's such a privilege to be able to do what you love.
Yeah, and for me, one of the key sort of inspirations in your journey is that shift, like incredible.
And it's amazing.
Guts to go and just change, you know. And I think with kids as well, I think they sense that joy and the pride. And I think what's really beautiful about what you're doing as well is there's a tangible outcome. They can see the furniture, see the, you know. And I think it's if anything, you just hope you set an example of
exactly. I hope they're proud of me, and I hope that it inspires them to, with whatever they want to do in life. I mean, my daughter this morning, I said, what do you want to be? And she's like, I just want to be a mum. And I was like, you will be a great mum, you know, and like good for her, you know, if that's what she wants to be and that's kind of where her ambition starts and stops, there's nothing wrong with that. And I just, you know, I just want my children, whatever they decide to do or be, just to sort of live with that joy. And I always say to my kids, you know, you just, whatever you love, that's what you should do with your life, you know, because whatever you love doing, that's what you'll be good at.
Ooh,
and I feel it. It's true. It's it's sort of, it's true for me. I think that the last 5 years of my life since I've started this business are the happiest 5 years of my life. And I can honestly say that I'm the happiest I've been in my life personally. I feel the most fulfilled. I feel like I'm doing what I was put on this earth to do, which feels a bit kind of like woo-woo, but I really feel that. I really feel that I've found my place in the world. And I feel very proud of myself. And I think that is something that I am just, you know, it's nice to sit back and take a second to think about that, because I don't think about that very often. I'm normally just in the weeds kind of, you know, problem solving and figuring things out and doing the next thing and the next thing. But, you know, when I talking to you now, I'm just sort of reflecting, and I think that it's something that I'm very, very proud of, and that I'm really grateful that I took that leap and did it and took that chance, because, you know, I'm here where I am today, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
No, and I think it's it's obviously a huge credit to you and your drive to get there, because I think it would have been also easy to sort of start and just, I think having gone from, you know, what was an Instagram following, and, you know, to then take those massive steps and be really proactive and driven. I think for me personally, that's a huge source of inspiration, and it's wonderful to see all the exciting things coming for you in the year ahead. I'm personally very excited about your store opening.
Yes, it's going to be amazing.
No, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Before we wrap our interview today, it's time for her edit. So I'm going to ask you some quick questions and see where you're at with a few things at the minute. First design-related purchase you ever made? Can you remember? I feel like it's probably an amazing vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first design-related purchase that I made was actually a sculpture. It's a totem that I picked up at an auction site, which is completely wild in terms of what it is. It's this huge, like 1.5 meter high totem, and I probably have the name of the maker somewhere, but it's not about that for me. I don't really care. I mean, obviously, I respect this person's work and I love this piece, but for me, in terms of collecting and pieces that I'm drawn to, it doesn't matter if it's a big name or if it's someone's grandpa
Yeah.
in their garage, you know, with his bare hands making a bookshelf from scratch. For me, it's about the shape, the form,
Yeah.
the sculptural integrity of it. For me, it's very much about the piece. And I've never been one who gets caught up on designers as affirmation that something is a piece worth collecting. For me, it's the piece speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And secondary is I couldn't care less if the person made it is some famous designer or not. It doesn't bother me.
Are there any pieces you're currently coveting, or would you say are you still sort of keeping an eye on vintage? Are you always
Absolutely.
sort of looking? Yeah,
absolutely. With the new flagship store here in Melbourne, a big thing that I'm wanting to do is bring back that, go back to my roots a little bit in terms of sourcing vintage and antique pieces. And so the flagship store is going to be very much a mix of collection pieces as well as vintage again.
Yeah.
So at the moment I'm sourcing for the store,
Fun.
which is, I'm back in my element. I'm like, oh, I've missed this. So I'm sourcing a lot of pieces. I just got delivered yesterday the most beautiful Italian bowl, which I don't know how I'm going to part with.
I know that's part of the problem.
I know, but just beautiful pieces, and I'm slowly sort of collecting up again because I want to have a beautiful sort of collection of like evolving antique and vintage pieces that sort of move and fit with my pieces to really keep the space very on brand as Rachel Donath. That's who we are. We've got that vintage old world heart, and also with the collectible, our collection pieces as well in the mix as well. So at the moment, I'm doing a lot of vintage shopping and I'm loving it.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
probably feeds into the next question. Next travel destination, actual or aspirational?
For me, it's the flea markets in the south of France.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm just trying to figure it out at the moment logistically. Do I go by myself? Do I take all the kids? Do I go like how do I make this happen? Because I feel like you need a good 3 weeks there to sort of travel around and go everywhere you want to go. And it's a bit of a trip, but that's very much on my mind is I need to get back there. I need to get back to these markets. I need to get back to my roots and spend those early mornings trawling markets and speaking to vendors. And it's definitely my happy place. And I very much want to go back and get back into that again soon.
Yeah, gorgeous. Favourite design or creative icon, living or legend?
My answer is probably not what you're expecting. I say my grandma. My grandma was
gorgeous.
An amazing collector, and I think is a big part of my personal inspiration. Both her as a person, she had amazing integrity. She was a beautifully kind and warm person. She also had a very public life. My grandfather was the Governor General of Australia.
Oh, wow.
So she was sort of Lady Cowan, and she was very much in the public life, but extremely humble and extremely warm and friendly and down to earth and approachable. And those are all, character traits. And she's a huge inspiration to me. And from a design perspective, her home was always very collected. She would collect pottery and art and cushions, and she was very resourceful, and she would sew and she would upholster sofas herself. And she was a real creative. And I would spend sort of school holidays at her house, and she'd make her own bean bags for us, throwing bean bags to throw in the garden, and we'd do pottery together, and we'd make, I still remember, she'd have the most amazing books on pottery, and we would literally get clay out, and she was just such a creative, down to earth, grounded, extremely kind person. And for me, she's a real role model, both in my creativity and also in my, personally, in the way that I hope to, to treat others and to be in the world.
Oh, that's gorgeous. I'm sure she would be very touched. No, that's a gorgeous answer. Could you describe your aesthetic in 3 words? Maybe as the brand.
Yeah, I'd say sculptural, eclectic.
Yep.
Textural.
I'm thinking texture.
I feel like more than texture, it's about something very classic and refined and just detail. Like I love beautiful detail, architectural. I love beautiful shapes. I love shapes.
Yeah.
I love the detail of form and shape and texture obviously is.
I was just thinking of
is
your
everything.
chairs.
Yeah. No, I do love texture, and I love sort of just playing with all my swatches and my samples and having a bit of fun with them. But I'd say probably sculptural and architectural is the 2 words that probably come to mind first.
Yeah, beautiful. And the final question: if your star was a celebrity, who would it be?
Jenna Lyons.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, Jenna Lyons. She actually has a few of our pieces, which is
Oh, really?
such a
That's
compliment.
so wonderful. Yeah.
I know, but Jenna Lyons is just someone who is, she's very much in her own lane.
Yeah.
She's not a follower of trends or of anything for that matter. She's very confident. She's very bold. She's a trendsetter. She's a good, as well as I know her, she's someone with a lot of integrity who does the right thing, who doesn't get caught up in drama or politics or, any of that kind of fluff. She's very much just, in her own lane, doing her own thing. And in turn, because she has that beautiful confidence and beautiful aesthetic and way of being that is so kind of independent to what everyone else is doing, I think that she's just a real icon and very much just she's a trendsetter, and she's just extremely cool.
I like that, and particularly poignant that she's bought some of your pieces.
Yes, she has. Yeah. She's got some of our pieces, yes.
Thank you so much for your time today, Rachel. It's been wonderful to catch up.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me.